What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Sports Jedi Network, your home of fan-driven nonsense, non-breakdown of all professional wrestling. Tonight, we are going to break down TNA Thursday Night Impact. Today episode, we're going to break everything down, what statements were made, what was driven, what was made, set up for the following upcoming television weeks of TNA Impact Wrestling, along with their all eyes on their next premium live event. But before we dive into this recap, we want to tell you we are brought to you by some incredible sponsors. Of course, Dude Wipes. Dude Wipes and the Sports Jedi Network, wiping out the competition clean. Blackout Coffee, American-made, unapologetic, patriotic. So go to blackoutcoffee.com/rumble. Save 20% your first order, or use my referral code, Sports Jedi 20, and keep saving more and more. And of course, G Fuel. G Fuel. Go to gfuel.com, PGH Chris 20, and save 20% off. That is by the PGH Chris TV Productions. Thank you for G Fuel. We want to make sure Chris gets that affiliated credit as well. And of course, our friends at Wrestle Soup and Friendos. Salute. Thank you so much. Partnering with us here on the audio side of it. We got a lot to break into. We had a first ever the guitar casket case match between Elijah and Mustafa Ali. Crazy stipulation, a crazy night. We had tag team action of BED and Rich Swann versus Sinners and Saints. We had Tessa Blanchard versus Jody Threat. We had a rematch clause for the TNA International Championship. A lot to that from Nashville, Tennessee. Of course, they open up the show with the one and only Indy Hartwell. Indy Hartwell taking on one half of the TNA Knockouts champion, H by Elegance, or Heather by Elegance. Before the match, the Elegance brand joined the commentary team. Ash joined the team, talked about inviting Mickie James to appear. Next week's show, they're featuring a back-to-back, back-and-forth social media jabs at one another. So they're going to have a face-to-face next week. Does this mean that we're getting the Hardcore Country, maybe a one-off match here in Nashville, Tennessee against Ash by Elegance? We shall see. Anytime we get to see Mickie James return back and into the ring in any form, with her veteran leadership and her wisdom, she's a Hall of Famer. She should be a two-time Hall of Famer. I think she should be in the WWE Hall of Fame as well. Only time will give the reasons for her to be in the Hall of Fame in the WWE. She's a TNA Knockouts Hall of Famer. And it's great to see her on, and she looks phenomenal. Maybe a match one-on-one with Ash and Mickie James. I am not opposed of it. Definitely, let's go. Let's get it done here. So we get the match between Heather by Elegance. Heather by Elegance defeats Indy Hartwell gets pinned by Hertz Donuts. Now, when you have the Elegance brand, you have a lot of plunder. You have George the Iceman, who is, I keep saying it time and time again, I can't stop giving him his flowers. He is the best manager when it comes for TNA and all across wrestling. The reason why I give him that high accolades, I know you have Don Callis, who's just a super heat generator of heel. George does it with I hate to say it, an elegant way, because we know that if you look at the Elegance brand, the three ladies right now, even Ash, she's a veteran, but they're not the greatest in-mic speakers and talkers on the planet. Their promos could get at worst a little bit. They need a lot of work, just to be very nice. I don't want to be harsh. George brings that next level of making his point across as the heel with the singer, but not over the top where you despise him, that you just want to see him in the street and just spit in his eye like a Don Callis. But he's just that zinger, that Bobby the Brain Heenan type of heel. Heenan was that type as well, and I just like watching George the Iceman control the Elegance brand. Now, do they have too many ladles in the Elegance soup? You could say that, because the Elegance brand, or the Elegance man, that they brought upon, it's not hitting right now. He comes out, he gets on top of the ramp, he does like a swimming type of thing when he lays on his back. It's kind of a little bit cringy-ish when it comes to him. He just smiles, it looks goofy. Let it get. He has something. He needs something. Maybe something where he does on social media to get over, a la Kit Wilson. I'm not trying to compare these two, but Kit Wilson with his theme song and Toxic Masculinity kind of got over. It feels like Kit Wilson should be in the Elegance brand with that, with what he's doing along, the Elegance gentleman that with them. I don't even know his name. It's not really resonating right now. It feels more of a cringy spot with him. I hope they turn it around. I'm still open minded. It's not working right now for me, but I want to keep it an open mind. I want to keep positive when it comes to the Elegance brand, where they can move forward. I've said this time and time again. Chris, my partner on the channel, likes Heather. He thinks Heather is going to be the breakout star from the group. I have more hopes on Maggie Leaf to be the breakout star. Doesn't mean that Heather's not going to be the breakout star. I think Heather's really good as well with time. But there's something about M by Elegance with her height, her demeanor, her look, just screams superstar. And I've said this with her with just the eye test. She checks the box. Now we just got to get her on the microphone, get going with the microphone before both H and M. Look, I've been saying this time and time again. If you listen to my podcast, every time I do a watch alongs, of course, we are the home of your watch alongs, wrestling interviews, and of course, all your recaps here on the Sports Jedi Network of all professional wrestling. And of course, I always said that the Elegance brand, they should, when they're not doing TNA live events and they have the time off in between the tapings, they should work NXT lives. If the ladies are working in Florida or have an opportunity, they don't have to do it each and every week, but work that live citrus circuits for the NXT brand alongside with the knockouts. I think it's just going to help the knockouts, especially, and it's just not the Elegance brand. Zaya Brookside, Mila Moore, Holly Hudson, Marlon Grace. There's a lot of ladies and the gentlemen as well. If they will work a couple of NXT live events, house shows across the Florida Citrus circuit, it's just going to make their in-ring much sharper, and especially getting different perspectives from the NXT coaches, vice versa. When the NXT wrestlers come to TNA, they do get a lot of tutelage and advice from a Tommy Dreamer, Nate Steele, Lance Storm, and sometimes you need to hear a different prophet outside of your land to convey the message. I think that's something that would benefit the Elegance brand, in my opinion. I would love to see them work those circuits. But all in all, where you saw Heather H by Elegance was going to do the wheel battle, and Indy Hartwell totally countered and hit Hertz Donuts for the victory. Before that, right before the Elegance brand got kicked out of ringside, all George, the Iceman, M by Elegance, and the Elegance man, they kept, for some reason, Ash stood behind. And this is the part where I get a little bit of disconnect. Ash, you're great. You're eye candy to look at. You're very easy on the eyes. You're very marketable. But when that match was over, when Indy Hartwell's name was announced, that scream and that tantrum that you did on the outside of the ring was very cringy. And it's please don't take it as being disrespectful or hurtful if you were to hear this. And we're not saying that to be negative, not to be hurtful or demeaning. It's just, it doesn't look right. It doesn't feel genuinely you. It just, I don't know. It looked at cringe because it doesn't feel natural that you're really upset. I would have preferred you, be honest with you, to just taken the desk and flipped off the headsets and just toss the headsets on the table that she lost, rather than you just screamed and screeched and fell and pouted. Like it just didn't feel right. I think, I expect something different from her, but it's getting to that point where you start seeing Elegance brand and you associate with cringiness for bad. I don't know if that's the creative freedom they gave you. Maybe have some more meetings, talk with the Iceman, with the girls, see what they want to do. What's more, something different. Try something different, because if that's the first thing you're opening up at 9 o'clock, 8 Central on an AMC, and you ladies are the kickoff, and there was no disrespect. The in-ring was good. I thought Heather in-ring was good, but just the extracurricular stuff, I just don't want people to turn and change the channel. The opening contest is a very important contest on any wrestling brand. A lot of times they set up a promo to kind of set up for the main event, or what's the show's mostly going to kick off about. And they start off with the women's, and I like the fact that the ladies, the knockouts, the women get an opportunity first. but you have to do something where you want to retain and keep the audience to move to segment, especially when you're on a new network and each and every week your numbers continue to rise, in viewership. You don't want people to say, "Oh, I'm not going to set up all nights to watch this and that." And you got to make sure you kick it off well. Which I thought it was something weird because I would have loved to kick off the show, and I don't know why they didn't do it with your TNA World Champion. You have Mike Santana, who had the hottest, who has a major big story right now, especially kicking off your AMC debut, capturing the TNA World title. Everyone who crossed over sees Mike Santana's story where he was champion. He lost it in a short time because of the coup by the NXT castaways, cost him that. He got it back with Frankie Kazarian on the first night, so forth. He's the main focal point right now of your AMC show. He should have been opening up the show in that promo, referring to Steve Macklin, calling out Leon Slater to the ring and all that stuff. I think that would have been a better pace, personally, to kick off that, and then you would have brought in the Elegance brand afterward. What I think would have been a much more okay, because they if people were crossing over for either watching the movie that was on AMC prior to, Mike Santana, the promo, this, that, something, what they're saying, let me see, and then you get the knockouts. I think it would have worked better. But again, they're learning this here on live television. They're learning week-to-week television. The numbers keep going higher, so they're doing something right. I just hope that doesn't affect it. Also, the in-ring, the competitors have to keep up with the production, vice versa. I would have loved to see Santana open it up, but I wanted to talk to about what Santana mentioned. Santana mentioned about apologizing for leaving Leon Slater stranded in the ring during a tag match and no surrender, but he congratulated Leon Slater. So he was apologizing, but then he built up his partner, saying that he pinned a former champion. That's nothing to sneeze at. Remember, Daria left the option C, where Leon Slater could cash in his X Division champion and challenge Mike Santana for that World Heavyweight title if Leon Slater chooses to. So I saw this as Mike Santana he has an ally in him, but he doesn't want to piss off his ally for leaving him behind and leaving him alone to battle. He actually mentioned, thank God for Moose coming out and leveling the system, addressing, from the locker room and all that stuff, where it kind of was like, yeah, Leon's like, yeah, but you still left me to deal with five other opponents. So I like the way Mike spinned it, took it, came back and brought it back to his favor. Then Daria interrupts, which we knew when I was talking to Chris. I said, either two things is going to happen. Whichever general manager comes out, we're going to know when this match is going to take place. You could see that the Nemeth brothers came out, interrupted. Nick Nemeth, Ryan Nemeth. I said, there's going to be a tag team. Your classic, can they coexist between Santana, Leon Slater? Maybe that's the match that they're going forward to. Maybe there's an accidental, retaliation or a friendly fire where maybe at No Surrender or in Atlanta, when they'll be live, it could be the X Division champion versus the World Heavyweight champion. Who knows? Where you have the all briefcase looming, and as well as the Call Your Shot gauntlet. TNA is doing a lot of different things of misdirecting the audience to not know what's next, to keep it unpredictable, to keep it suspenseful, to keep you on your toes guessing, not trying to be formulaic, safe, or predictable. They're trying to keep it. Yeah, you could see where the Call Your Shot gauntlet might be coming here and there. You might see where Eddie Edwards might cash in that briefcase. You also have Eric Young with the X Division briefcase as well. He's also a big play. And you also have Leon Slater with option C. So Mike Santana has all these slings and arrows through all different directions. Plus you have a guy who got fired technically from the company, wants back. He trying to take out your world champion, hurt him, and he wants to get back in the building to give his pound of flesh, get on the microphone and tell his side. That's another competitor that Mike Santana has to keep an eye on and watch his back. So what they're doing with the storytelling in TNA with the World Heavyweight Champion with different competitors, not just a clear cut, who's your number one contender, who's next, pal, or title eliminators and all that other stuff. They're keeping it wide open to anyone and anyone, which is a good thing. You want to keep everyone in the company part of the storyline. At any given time, anyone is available to take on Mike Santana. And I like what they're doing with that because it makes Mike Santana's title reigns feel special. It's making Mike Santana like he's got everyone coming for him, and the Bronx ready. He's got to be Bronx ready, and I like that from Mike Santana. I really enjoy that there. We'll see what happens. Daria comes out. We're gonna, and of course, if I said it's Vicentino and Santino Morello, they're getting this match tonight in Nashville, and of course they're still in Nashville next week, but she's gonna make it for next week for Mike Santana with Leon Slater taking on the Nemeth brothers next week. So the crowd a little disappointed because they have to wait technically a week or a couple hours if you were there at Nashville because it's taped. And they're going to have that match next week, which is pretty cool. I'm ready and excited to see where that goes. The dynamic where we're going to see Leon and Mike, how they're going to work again. And if Steve Macklin is in the building, does Santana abandon his partner again? And that could be another storyline where Leon gets fed up, like, you're leaving me, bruv. And that's something where we could see a feud between the X Division champion of the world heavyweight champion. So I like that. I like how that goes. With that said, we get the TNA International Championship. It's a rematch. Trey Miguel won his title on the pay-per-view or the PLE, and Stacks Lorenzo Jennings wants his rematch clause, of course, alongside with Adriana Grace. Adriana Grace did a great promo. I got to give her credit, before the match, cut a promo addressing the online criticism that she played Santino like a fiddle to secure her knockout opportunity. Promised Stacks will reign an international title, cementing that they're the most powerful couple in professional wrestling. I like the fact that she said, you know what? You made it giving me the opportunity to wrestle for the title, but I actually went out and executed and won the Knockouts title from Li Ying Yi. I like that from her because, yes, there was really no shenanigans. She just took out the Cobra and nailed her and hit her Grace move, and she pinned her, if you watch the pay-per-view. So I like where they're going with this, with Santino Morella's daughter, Adriana Grace, with the Knockouts title. It's the storyline there where now you're going to see it on NXT television. You're going to see the TNA title on NXT TV. Remember, they're going at the end of the month, or the beginning of the month. No, the end of the month of March. They'll be in Madison Square Garden for Roadblock. If she's still currently your champion there, you're going to see the TNA title, Knockouts title, at Madison Square Garden again. And that's where Ying Lee won it. Last time they were at the Garden in November. If the title changes hands there, it's nothing but beneficial for TNA. How much did it make Ying Lee's title victory feel special? He did it at the theater in Madison Square Garden, and she became the first Chinese world heavyweight world champion in any major company. So she made history in the world's most famous arena, although most famous theater. Maybe they do something again for TNA benefiting at Madison Square Garden at Roadblock. We'll see where that goes when it comes for the Women's Knockouts title there in TNA. And with speaking of that, we have Trey Miguel coming out with a custom-made international championship. It's like a green strap replacing the traditional blue. Of course, Trey Miguel, the lone survivor of the Rascals. We all know the story where it happened with him back and forth. This match, I thought this match was a very compelling match, better match. This match on television for the rematch clause was a better match than the original match that took place at the PLE, due to the fact that there was no slippage. Lorenzo had a couple of hiccups in the corner at that title match last night. Good match, back and forth, good television match, good title defense as Trey Miguel wins via pinfall with the shell shock, followed by the lightning spiral finisher that looks really cool from Trey Miguel. Trey Miguel, if you watch him as an X Division champion and his run in TNA before, you see that this kid has title pedigree. This wasn't a fluke. This is not a pit. This wasn't a pity. We're going to give you this international title because you left because of the circumstances. No, they're putting this title on Trey Miguel because this kid could go out there and he works. He earns it. He works. He gets the crowd going. He gets it. He gets the psychology of the matches. He gets how to get the crowd in a comeback, blow a comeback, get the crowd going, fight from behind. I love how Trey Miguel does his in-ring, and I gotta say a lot for Channing Stacks Lorenzo, the growth. I remember seeing him when he first came into NXT with Two Dimes. You know, it's part of Tony D'Angelo. Boy, him and Two Dimes and Stacks were both green behind the ears. Oh my God, those guys! I didn't even know they knew how to tie their boots when they first came into the ring, and now this kid has grown leaps and bounds in front of our eyes. And if you telling me that not holding that international title has not benefited him and working in TNA, boom. That's where the collaboration. This is where the partnership and collaboration benefits everyone because they've got a story with Adriana Lorenzo as well with Santino Morella, and also they're having incorporated in ring where they're working both brands more in ring, more reps, and they're getting better. Lorenzo's getting better and better and better, and that's why these collaboration works. I would love to see Trey Miguel with the international title now be able to go and work with that title, defend it, maybe in NXT television. NXT could really use the star power these days because they lost a lot of wrestlers going to the main roster. Trey Miguel, you got some good matches, Trey Miguel and Eli Knight. Where Miguel defends his title. And I know I've been one of those up in arms who've been yelling on NXT wrestlers getting title shots at the TNA titles. But when it's a TNA wrestler holding the crown and defending it, I like it more than when Lorenzo gave it to Shiloh Hill. Because, Lorenzo's an NXT wrestler giving up a TNA title match to a LFG wrestler, where it feels different from if Trey Miguel puts the title as a defending champion, as a working workhorse TNA international champion, and on NXT television. Hey, I even would love to see Trey Miguel get an opportunity in AAA Mexico. Go down there in AAA and wrestle one of the luchadors. Have a match there where he defends the international title on AAA TV. One match, Lince de Dorado, or you could put one in one. Pagano, you could do. If you want to do any of the wrestlers out there that we know that we are familiar against Trey Miguel, Octagon. Octagon has been in TNA before. Have that match from they have good in ring together. They're familiar with one another. Trey Miguel and AAA. Take advantage of the full collaboration. It's been a while that we've seen TNA wrestlers in AAA Mexico. They were working when the world collide. They were working hand in hand, and now kind of froze a little bit. I kind of want to see more of the collaboration, not just NXT, TNA. I also want to see some AAA involved. I also would like to see some AAA wrestlers do a couple of TNA circuits. I would love to see someone from the AAA brand, some of these tag teams that they have show up on TNA television, and just work a live event, possibly over to a PLE and one of those tapings for a couple of weeks. Wouldn't mind to see that. It benefits everyone. Everyone gets to be familiar with all the different wrestling companies and so forth. I don't know if they'll do it, but it'll be interesting to see. Definitely would love some collaboration here. We go into there with some backstage. Of course, they have their BioFlakes injury reports. BDE with the neck injury. Jeff Hardy banged up. Elias is less than 100%. Eric Young goes into a backstage promo. I loved it. Eric Young vows to have the cleanse coming to TNA, says that he will begin with Leon Slater because Leon Slater is being accused of ruining the X Division's legacy because he's trying to impress another company. So Eric Young is basically attacking Leon Slater for showing up at the open challenge for the Carmelo Hayes United States Championship and not focusing on defending the X Division champion. That's storyline related. We don't know the visa issues for Leon Slater. He couldn't make it to Genesis and so forth. But I like that they're incorporating that part of the storyline with Eric Young and the cleanse. That was getting some steam, and it kind of went into the back burner because we weren't sure if Eric Young was going to get fired storyline wise or his contract renewal storyline wise. And they put a pause on it. Now it looks like he's getting back to that cleanse going forward. Let's see where that goes when it comes to Eric Young. And that, remember, he has the briefcase that has the contract for the X Division champion. He could call or he could cash in at any time for the X Division title shot there for Eric Young. We get a match where these were the two final ladies at the Battle Royal at the PLE. A Tessa versus Jody threat. Tessa brings the Diamond Club exchange with Victoria Crawford and Mila Moore. back and forth this one. I know everyone's a big fan of Tessa. I know Chris and our friend Aaron Loves Wrestling. Shout out to Aaron Loves Wrestling podcast. Wants to see Tessa get an opportunity to become your Knockouts champion. I personally would love to see Tessa as a Knockouts champion right now, and I even said I would love her to have a big time title run. You know, something along like I don't know if she's going to get a 1,316 days title run, but I wouldn't mind seeing a 2.5 year run, two-year run for Tessa as your Knockouts champion, where she's defending this and no one team seems to defeat her. I know people are probably saying why, the lady draws heat. The lady is an ultraviolet heel. The lady is a good in-ring worker. I've been plenty of times and privileged to gone to a lot of TNA events, and I want to say thank you to the TNA brand, the Anthem brand, Carlos Silva, Ross Foreman. Appreciate you guys for the opportunity to be a guest when you guys come to my city and inviting us to Slammiversary last year. And I was able to. My point why I'm thanking and giving them credit, because they allow me to see with my own eyes and be in the building to see how Tessa works and to see her in ring, where the way she handles the talents, the carefulness, the care, and how careful she is executing her moves, making sure they're safe. This is a little bit peeking behind the curtain, because you see a lot of wrestlers where, look, there's been companies that have been dropped on people's heads, and there's been a big fuss and yada 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 and all that online rhetoric when it comes to Megan Bain and others and so forth, and then Braun Breaker in the neck and all. And Tessa goes beyond and above to make sure her in-ring opponents are safe, executing her moves, and while still executing a devastating knees, suplex, whatever, when it comes to Tessa, very well. I've seen her work plenty of times in Full Sail, again, Slammiversary, all the different places that I've gone to see her in person. And look, has she did something in her past that she's paying for it presently? I think we all have. Is it time for us to turn the other cheek? I can't tell you, fans. I can't tell you anyone's listening to turn the other cheek. That's a personal conviction for you. For me, I'm ready for Tessa to be the top of the TNA Knockouts brand. I think we need to. I personally would like to see her win the Knockouts World title and go on a long title reign and be that obstacle. Even if she goes to NXT and she's still the Knockouts champion and they can't beat her, I want to see like a Ric Flair type of run, like a territory when the NWA days were her to go. If she could, if I know they won't let her work in CMLL with the Knockouts title. I don't know that for sure because of the partnership that they have with All Elite Wrestling. If Tessa wants to work AAA, I would love to see, especially with this Diamond Club. You have Victoria, you have Mila Moore, you have Tessa. Would love an opportunity for La Toxicas from AAA Mexico to make a TNA run, just for a weekend, for a week. When they have their 3 weeks of taping, something along the lines there. I invite the Toxicas to come and work a PLE match, a 6-woman. Then you could lead a 1-on-1 when you could have, against Tessa and back, or if they go to Puebla or Reyes tournament, something along the lines. I would love to see Tessa work some more. She loves working in CML. She actually lives in Mexico. Would love to see Tessa work in AAA representing TNA. That's why the Knockouts title will really be a benefit for her. And I know Aaron from wrestling. Aaron loves wrestling, and along with Chris, we had this conversation. We talked about should TNA introduce a secondary women's Knockouts title, like a international Knockouts title. As of right now, I don't think so. But if you're going to have Tessa go on a long title run like that, maybe that's a conversation to have, because I don't feel that the Knockouts currently right now, their brand that they have on the company right now, there isn't anyone yet to be like the big reign of the company. They don't have a big over baby face yet. Indy Hartwell's not there yet, personally. That's why I would love Tessa to go on a title run, like that long title run, and have the baby face be built. Because once Tessa loses the Knockouts title to whoever, that's going to be a made knockouts going forward. And you don't want the returning elderly, and no disrespect, elderly knockouts or the WWE castaway. I kind of want to see, and I'm not saying Indy's a WWE castaway because she's at NXT. I'm talking about I'm going to use an example. Like, for instance, let's say Nikki Bella. And it's not picking on Nikki or Brie. Neither one, let's say they go to TNA and they win. That's the example I'm talking about. Or someone that's been there, done that, and returns to TNA. I kind of want them to build their own babyface superstar to take the title off of Tessa. And it could even be Indy, even though even Mara Sade, Cora Jade. I know they're NXT brands. Jody Threat, and so forth. And Jody, and speaking of that, they had the match between them where it made sense. I know Chris says, who's going to win? I don't want to see Tessa lose. He was very adamant and very vocal. And I don't want to see Tessa get pinned by Jody Threat, but Jody Threat is your number one contender. Jody Threat has history and opportunity to be a knockout champion with Dani Luna. Remember, Dani Luna never got an opportunity to get her title match. She's number one contender. She had visa issues. So she's also a number one contender who was promised a number one contender match as a knockouts world title match. So it's interesting you have two number one contenders. And if Tessa would have pinned Jody Threat, you could even claim that she had a case at that. But all in all, the disqualification route, as Victoria and Mila Moore they just ran in and they just pounded and stomped the mud hole on Jody Threat, kicking her stomach. But I want to say this, when they started kicking her stomach, it was all set up with Tessa doing the old-fashioned abdominal stretch. Good old-fashioned heel, stretching her out, the abdominal stretch on Jody Threat. That's the psychology that they had in the match. She kept working and physically wearing down her opponent, and then the ladies pounced on her. No contest, a disqualification. Jody Threat wins via DQ, and we move on here to the next match. When you had Rich Swann versus BDE, Rich Swann and BDE taking on Sinners and Saints, Judas, Icarus, and Travis Williams. I've been a fan of the Sinners and Saints kids. When they came out with Josh Alexander, they were part of the Northern Armory. Before that, when they aligned themselves with Josh Alexander, they came in as enhancement tag teams. They came in and worked the match as enhancement tag teams, and they were very impressive. Similar to the two kids that worked on the opening pre-show at the PLE for No Surrender, they did the same thing, and you saw them a week before in Albuquerque, New Mexico. That's how they got their TNA contract for Sinners and Saints. I thought these two kids, they're young, they're a tag team, they work well. They kept around with Josh Alexander. Then they went to Eric Young as heels. Now they're kind of like in a babyface role with Sinners and Saints. They're another team that I think will benefit with an NXT live run on the weekends when they're not being used on TNA television, or TNA doesn't have any bookings for 2 weeks while they wait for the next live event. This is where Sinners and Saints will benefit an NXT run as a tag team, because they get their cohesion as tag teams together, sharp. And I know some of these guys and girls have independent bookings I know they have ACW, they have other companies that they work for when they're not doing the TNA brand, and that's a quick way of making money. But man, at least once a circuit, at least once a week, once a month, they should at least do an NXT live event circuit. It benefits everyone. I keep saying it. I know I'm sounding like a redundant, broken record, but man, Judas, Icarus, and Travis Williams would benefit as a tag team working. They could put in 6-man or fatal 4-way, fatal 4-way tag teams, or whatever the case is. All it does, iron sharpens iron. I would love to see them learn the WWE brand and learn the WWE work, the WWE style, because it's only going to help TNA's television with that tag team and get them going. The battle of the match, I thought the match was a real good match where Swanee doing his moves, along with BDE. They're high flying. They're very innovative on offense. Sinner and Saints continue to work pound. They look like a more formidable tag team naturally because they are the natural tag team. I love the fact that BDE took the pin because he's the lesser of the 4 gentlemen in the ring. He's the rookie. He's learning baptism under fire. And of course, The pinfall connecting on a total elimination of BDE. They totally blast them. Sinners and Stains worked on a finishing move that was really cool, and they get the victory. Right team won. I like the fact that Rich Swann has taken the kid under his wing. Let's see where that goes. Could we see BDE turning heel on Rich Swann and joining Eric Young? I don't know. I don't know. Do you guys want to see BDE work as a heel? Right now, he's the YouTube kid, comes out with the phone. He's smiling. He's happy to be there. He's, living a dream. And when is the heel turn? What is that moment that he's going to say, I have to have an attitude change? Maybe that's it, where Rich Swann and him, it's not working. They lose a couple matches or something forth. Because Rich Swann has been there, done that as a heel. For that, he would have stood with AJ Francis and stayed on the first class. I think Rich Swann stays the babyface if that were to happen with BDE, but we'll see where that goes going forward. We had a backstage, speaking of that, of AJ Francis. We had a backstage with the Lander and Mance Warner. Mance Warner went into the locker room of AJ Francis. AJ Francis was sitting there with two ladies on his shoulders, on his side, and boy, did that. She interrupted. She CB'd him like no other. And of course, Mance Warner comes into the room, and my goodness, those two were broken up by security. I cannot wait to see those two guys go at it. Because I've told Chris right before that, it was funny because when the match finished, I said, why aren't we going another week without AJ Francis on Thursday Night Impact? He is the most biggest, physically, larger than life heel that TNA could have, where he is menacing. He works well. Kudos to AJ Francis, who's done phenomenally in ring. It was always there, but he just needed more television time to let us know that his in ring is really good. I enjoy AJ Francis when it comes to the in ring and the heel stuff. I always said he should have been that major heel where in WWE, which they botched it. They screwed up the pooch when it came to that persona of AJ Francis, the top dollar persona in WWE. They have their issues. TNA has a good harvest here with AJ Francis. You could see who he is. Very charismatic, very heelish, playboyish type of heel when two ladies there. Mance Warner is the Southern Psycho since day one coming into the company. I have been a fan of him. Just to the fact that the way he just conducts himself, he's just nuts. It just personas that he's a maniac, that whatever match he's going to give you, he's going to go bananas. He reminds me of a younger Terry Funk as the Chainsaw Charlie persona. That nut, that crazy guy, which is a major compliment for Mance Warner. I want to see Mance Warner get more television time and let him continue to have that Southern Psycho. I could do it without the PDF, with his wife, but that's his wife. I mean, it is what it is. He's just that maniac out there, and I cannot wait to see these two wrestle. Personally, I don't know how they could keep them from getting physical with one another. If they could hold it off to the PLE, will be great. Or when they have their next match, or when they finally do have their physicality be on live television, when I'm pretty sure in a couple of weeks when they're in Atlanta, they're going to be live on Thursday Night Impact. That's when I kind of see if they want to make that match there, and they can have a no contest, or they just brawling everywhere, and they have to have a stipulation match for Sacrifice in New Orleans. I'm for it. I just want to see more. I want to see AJ Francis get featured and Mance Warner, two guys that I love to watch wrestle and work. When it comes to TNA, I can't wait to see what they have in store for them, where they're going with the storyline, the physicality, and the story those two men are going to tell in the ring. And Statlander, what is she going to, the Lander, what is she going to bring to the table that's going to either tip the balance for Mance Warner's edge, or it's going to hold him back against AJ Francis? All of that is great storytelling. Looking forward to weeks of the build with these two guys. Hope they tell the story creatively and the time on the television. The Hardys, they were interrupted backstage by the system, all four members of the system, and things were about to get hot and testy, and they were going to be outnumbered. Out comes the righteous Dutch and Vincent. Dutch apologizes for the miscommunication and no surrender. As the Hardys walked away, Dutch refers to Dario Ray to ensure their foot was in the door. So, where Jeff Hardy says It was an accidental. Jeff seems to be on the side, giving an opportunity to the righteous. Matt still doesn't kind of trust the righteous yet. So Jeff is like, I dig it. We all know this is going to lead to them having another match, another turn. We'll see what happens when it comes to, and I think this is where the righteous takes the TNA tag team titles away from the Hardys. But I don't know if it's going to happen until WrestleMania, because talks and reports have that the Hardys are in talks to work or dual contract or dual relationship work with the WWE, in constant talks to do some work with them. That means WrestleMania. All it makes sense to have a ladder match. You know, it's the TLC match. You could have the Hardys, the Usos, the New Day, although I don't know if Xavier Woods is going to be clear. I think he's got out with an injury. But you could have the Motor City Machine Guns, who are decorative tag teams doing nothing on the WWE roster. You could have at least three. You could have three or anywhere from 3 to 5 teams. Lucha Brothers, everybody's climbing for the Lucha Brothers to get back together and so forth. You could have a conglomeration of teams, 5 tag teams, 10 men, for a ladder match for the tag team titles. Or you could do what they did a couple of WrestleManias ago with both tag team titles in the air, and or 3 all sets of tag teams. Who knows? And you could have a crazy type of move match or whatever the case is. I don't know. That's up to WWE Creative and TNA if they could work it out. But I would love to see that's. I don't think that's when Dutch and Vincent are not getting the tag team titles until at least May. If anything were to change hands with the Hardys, or do the Hardys drop the TNA titles and show up and still work with TNA, but show up for the ladder match and capture WWE Gold and work on TNA with WWE Gold? Who knows? But that's something that's called creative and something that WWE is lacking right now these days. So who knows if that's going to happen going forward? Something that went forward, but before we go forward, we want to make sure you know about our sponsor tonight. Tonight we are sponsored by Blackout Coffee. Blackout Coffee, American made, pro Second Amendment. Go to blackoutcoffee.com/rumble. Put Rumble and save 20% off your first order, or you use my personal referral code, Sports Jedi 20, and save even more. And also powered by Dude Wipes. Dude Wipes, stay fresh, stay match ready, stay clean. Sports Jedi Network and Dude Wipes were wiping clean the competition. And of course, you know that they partnered up with the WWE. So welcome to, I guess we got to say to WWE, welcome to our family, because we were partners with the Dude Wipe brand first. So it was cool that we know that now the family grows bigger. We always have vision in the force of knows what of the top notch. And of course, speaking of force, G-Force Energy Drink. That's PGA Chris affiliate. Go to G-Force, Code Force Energy Drink, PGA Chris 20, and save 20% off on your pre-energy workout. Chris uses it. Chris loves it. Product of his. He's affiliated with it. I got to try it. He's got me in peak now. I do work hard, and I do start early in the morning, and sometimes I need some energy, and that's why I use my Blackout Coffee. The Morning Reaper gets me going, but sometimes in the middle of the day, the coffee wears out a little bit, and I don't have anywhere to brew coffee. You know what? I just get some G4, some G-Force, and get me going, get ready to go. I got to try it. Maybe I got to do that and in a water bottle and get some empty packets and get going. I got to use PGH Chris 20 and save 20% off. So want to thank our sponsors for that as well. And don't forget, you could hear this on audio platform on Wrestle Soup and Friendos. Wrestle Soup and Friendos. Salute to Jeff Lipland. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate you guys. And of course, let's continue our breakdown of TNA here. We had an Elayna Black promo addressing being eliminated by Mara Sade during the Knockout Battle Royal No Surrender, which lead for Mara Sade to come out. Things got a little testy between these two ladies, a little back and forth, referencing they came from the same locker room back then, and things are a little different. Sade challenged Black to prove that she's not a fraud. Black responds by calling Sade a stupid little obstacle in her way. She needs to get past before she reaches her Knockouts championship. So Elayna wants Knockouts championship aspiration. Get in the back of the line, because you have Danny Luna, you have Jody Threat, and I don't think Yingling Lee has invoked her rematch clause neither to take on Adriana Grace. So Adriana Grace has a lot of competitors being stacked up against her. You could even say Tessa is lurking in the shadows if they were to pull the trigger. So interesting enough where they'll go with that. And speaking of that, we got a promo from Danny Luna. She's gonna take out Lee Ying Lee next week on next week episode of Impact. Of course, we know Santana and Slater are going to team up against the Nemeth brothers. AJ Francis and Mance Warner are announced. So I kind of wanted to hold off for them to be at a live event for those two guys to go ape wild. Hopefully this match doesn't even get started where it gets thrown out and we get that pushed for a live event. Mickey James and Nash by Elegance will have a face-to-face. Hopefully that leads to a match in the upcoming future at the live event or Thursday night and Impact in Atlanta. I believe that's the next time they're going to go live. And of course, something that kept going on with a lot of back and forth on social media, and they had matches in the mixed gender match, Jada Stone and Tasha Steele. I can't wait to see Tasha Steele continue to wrestle. I think she shouldn't be just a valet. She should be an in-ring competitor. Tasha Steele is a former Knockouts champion, a very tag team Knockouts tag team champion as well. Tasha Steele needs to get in the ring more where they need some more knockouts to help tell some stories with some of these ladies so some of the matches don't get redundant. I'm glad that she's going to work with the young Jada Stone next week. And the Hardys and the Righteous are teaming up against the System. Now, the System are all for one for all. They're rebooted. It's a new system. They're on the same focus page where you're taking on the Hardys and the Righteous who are not seeing eye to eye at the moment. That's the classic. Can they coexist? Shenanigans, so forth. I don't know. Let's see how this 8-man tag shapes out. And by management, we saw earlier in the show, we have Steve Macklin who wants to have a conversation, try to get in the building. Tom Hannafin met him outside. Macklin says he just wants plead this case to management. He wants to get on the microphone, an opportunity to plead his case and speak. Next week, he will get that opportunity. He will be let in the building, and he will have a conversation with Tom Hannafin at ringside or at in the ring next week in Nashville. So we'll find out with Steve Macklin. I wonder if Mike Santana is going to lift or plead TNA to hire Macklin back or have an unsanctioned match against Steve Macklin. That's where I want to see where this goes, how they bring Macklin back in the fold with TNA and make him a in-ring competitor full time. We get to the main event. This is a weird first time ever gimmick of all gimmicks match. It's a guitar case casket match. They have a guitar that looks as big as a casket. It opens up like a guitar case. You have to put your opponent, typical coffin match. You have to have your opponent in the coffin, shut the lid, and you win. This is a perfect chaos with, of course, Mustafa Ali, Elijah. Order 4 was barred from ringside, which that did not help. During the match, they come back out to try to help Elijah or from Skylar, Hodge, Agent Zero. There's a spot here where Elijah is about to do his the hangman or the running power driver, but he grabs Tasha Steele's and Mustafa Ali is about to whack him in the back with the guitar, and he spins Tasha where Mustafa just cracks the guitar over Tasha Steele. It was like holy crap moment. It was like 4 guitars destroyed, 2 tables, spots, total nonstop chaos between this match between Mustafa Ali and Elijah. Me and Chris were like, I hope this is the blow-off match where we don't see, not that they have not been bad matches. There's just a few that is getting a little long in the tooth between Mustafa Ali and Elijah. You've seen Mustafa Ali be taken away via roped and taken away by horse. We've seen all different types of variation mixed tag match. Now this final casket match result Elijah defeating Mustafa Ali, where the spot where they set up and they have the casket wide open. They set up a door. They put a door across, and Elijah gives Mustafa Ali this nasty choke slam right through the door, right into the casket for the win. I mean, some of the spots that I'm even leaving out was there's a spot where there's a guitar case and Mustafa Ali, a la Bret the Hitman Hart, and Nick Nemeth just ran themselves right into the post I mean, it looks so freaking brutal. Like, my goodness, how many brain cells do they get whacked around in their head going into that barricade or into that post at almost what 15 miles an hour running into it? I mean, my goodness, great match there for a main event. The blow off match there. Elijah stands on victorious for the victory. We'll see where Elijah goes next in the TNA possibility of a world title. Well, there it's so convoluted, so full. Maybe the international title for Elijah. Mustafa Ali, what's next? We goes back down to the drawing board where we thought he was going to be in pretty much number one contender with Mike Santana. We look, I've said this and I'm gonna say this again. We love Mike Santana. Mike Santana is our favorite wrestler on the channel. One of my favorites right now in professional wrestling. You know, to me, my order is Mike Santana, Braun Breaker, and then of course Trick. You know, then you start going down the line. But Mike, by the end, wouldn't be surprised by the end of 2026, Mustafa Ali is your TNA World Champion. Some way, somehow, that title is going to be around. And look, I'm not trying to book Mike Santana's title run already to be over. Me personally, I want my Bronx fellow Boricua to go as long as possible with the world title, but we know everything comes to a little bit of an end, especially in the men's world title picture with so many slings and arrows gunning at him. I would love to see Mustafa Ali by the end of 2026, you know, either Bound for Glory or right before or Final Resolution, close out the year with the TNA World Title for Mustafa, because he's that type of talent that gets overshadowed, underappreciative. And I'm not a Ali type of, it's not my type of wrestler, but I respect, and I could say this guy has earned a title run, at least an opportunity to be a face of a company as a heel. I think, you know, at the end of 2026, going to 2027, wouldn't mind seeing Mustafa Ali as your TNA World Champion if Mike Santana, you know, if they still want to keep him as strong as the champion and going in, and he's totally blown expectation with the company growing leaps and bounds with him as the face of the company, then you keep it on Mike, of course. But where there's an opportunity for Mustafa, wouldn't mind seeing that. We'll see where that goes. All in all, tonight, the TNA show was not a bad show. It was very entertaining. There were some spots, you know, again, placement of the match. I would have went with Santana to open up the show and the promo there and kept the Elegance brand second throughout the whole course of the night. But other than that, they're getting better with their production, their timing, their everything. The crowd, I thought in Nashville again was very alive, very great. You know, it wasn't that Albuquerque wasn't bad either. It was a good crowd as well. But I thought Nashville again was very, very entertaining show. 2 hours go by so quick when TNA does television. This is the TNA that we saw last year in 2025. Regardless if the show was a tape show that we knew that was taped already a week before or so forth, but the time goes so fast. My goodness, is already the cross. I always find myself first hours in the books. I'm like, damn, that was a quick 1 hour. I don't say it online when I do the watch along, but then I go in my head, damn, that was already an hour. That was fast. And then the main event, all of a sudden, boom, main event. One thing I got to give credit, even with the AMC, even with them on AMC. The placement of their commercial, their ad breaks, perfect. They don't take you out. They don't take your wind out of your sails when you're watching the Impact Zone on a Thursday night. You watch the shows, you get into the matches, you get the idea when they schedule a break where rarely you go, okay, it doesn't hurt the match. When they return from the commercial break, you're involved, you're still invested. Also, they do break as soon as the matches are over. That's something I wish the WWE will learn, especially on Netflix. You know, I understand the USA Network, I understand the CW Network, I get it; those are nationally broadcast. But what's the excuse then for AMC? Because AMC is nationally broadcast; it's a television, you know, and Netflix is not. Netflix is a paid service that you pay $21 for the lowest tier to get a boatload of ads over and over and over. You know, the match starts 1 minute in, they're going to an ad. They get the introduction, collar, elbow, tie up. Kenny Raleigh. That's what kills me about Netflix and the WWE. I wish they would be a little more like TNA, where they place the commercials in the right spot where you don't get disingenuous or start looking for Twitter or looking for something else to do. And it's easy to switch your channels or do watch something else when they're on AMC, especially if you have traditional cable. It's easy to switch. When you're on Netflix, input, output, and uploading the app, it's tough. And I think that's why a lot of people get upset when it comes to the Netflix ad placing on Netflix, is you just can't go last channel when you have to close the damn app, open up another app to watch something else, and then go back to Raw and open up the app again. I think that's what frustrates and get a lot of fans angry. And I think WWE knows that on Netflix, and they're taking liberties on the consumer by putting all those ads and commercials on you. Look, we watch it on both. I have when I stream it on the Rumble app, we do TNA Plus app, and I have also the AMC app to see side by side, and whether you're listening to me on YouTube or you're watching with me on Rumble, I have no issues when it comes to the TNA app, TNA Plus app. It runs so smooth. They even give you a match in between. Instead of a commercial, you see matches, the best of it, so forth. So I like the way TNA does it. I wish Netflix, Raw and Netflix were different, but it is what it is. All in all, this was a good show. I give the show a good 8 because I was entertained for 2 hours, and it made the 2 hours go quick. There's times, look, I'm going to be totally frank and honest. There's times that I have the stream ready to go to review NXT for the last 2 weeks, and I'm like, I don't want to be so over negative. I'm not going to review it. And in the last few weeks, NXT hasn't hit, and those 2 hours feel like a chore. This year with TNA, this was so smooth. It was so fast. Despite the fact that for me, finishing at 11 o'clock Eastern time is a little bit long for me. That's why I don't do the reviews the night of, because I have to go to work the next day and get up at 3. So then I have to do it on the next Friday afternoon or Friday, as we're doing this right now, this recording. That's what hurts for me. I missed the old 8 o'clock to 10 Eastern time for TNA because they allow me to do the reviews, at 10 to 11, be done by 11:30. Not bad. I can't stay up to 12:30 at night and then get up at 3 in the morning. That's a rough one. But all in all, very good TNA. TNA continues to deliver total nonstop action. It'll be interesting to see what the numbers are. Last week, they did a 240,000 viewers on AMC. Let's see, they hold around 220, 240. Or look, they've been increasing each and every week. Let's not limit them. If they could get to the 300,000s, more power to for TNA. It's about small goals, like Carlos Silva told us on our channel. He likes short-term goals, 3 months goals, 6 month goals, 9 month goals. But every time those months pass, are you elevating? Are you progressing? Are you getting better? And I think TNA has answered that. Each and every goal, every week to week, a month into the AMC premiere, and they have grown. So that's a positive when it comes to TNA, and we're here for it. So don't forget to hit like and subscribe to our channel. We want to say thank you for our sponsors, G-Force Energy, for 20% off. Go to PGA Chris 20 and save. Dude Wipes. You put all capital letters. Dude, save 20 to 5978, and they'll send you a 20% off code. And of course, Blackout Coffee. Go to blackoutcoffee.com/Rumble. Put Rumble 20% off your first order. Or when I know you're gonna like the product, use my referral code Sports Jedi 20 and continue saving more. With that said, we are Sports Jedi Network. We thank you guys for watching along. If you're going to hear us on the audio platform, 5-star review for Wrestle Super and Friendos. Check out all their different programs, all their different audio platforms. Everyone on their YouTube page, like, share, and subscribe. Follow us on our social media, Sports Jedi Media at PGA Chris TV. And thank you guys here. May the sports be with you guys, and we'll see you next time.
This is Sports Jedi Network, the fan-powered, creator-driven home for wrestling, combat sports, and major New York sports talk. Hosted by BX Sports Jedi Kevin, your rapid-fire, high-energy commentator, alongside a crew of passionate young men and ladies bringing the heat every single show. We cover it all: watch-alongs, live reactions, recaps, interviews, and debates from WWE, Raw, SmackDown, NXT, AEW, Dynamite, TNA, Thursday Night Impact Zone and specials, UFC Time with Austin, plus full coverage of New York sports talk. And yes, We tap into the galaxies of Star Wars plus the worlds of Marvel and DC. Breaking news, rumors, fantasy booking, hot take debates, plus major collaborations with PGH Chris TV Production Wrestling Soup and Friendos, Garden of Thought, PUWF Podcast, Hello Media of the Samuel Lyon TCP Podcast Group. We're fast-paced, we're interactive, we're built for live chat energy and real fan community. Our mission? Real-time reactions, honest takes, humor, interviews, and energy every single show. This isn't just coverage, this is community, this is combat, this is culture. That's Sports Jedi Network. May the sports be with you.